Hey guys, this is John from US Dash Camera. Today I got a review on the Blacksys CH-200. Now the CH-200 is a follow-up to the CH-100B. They're both two-channel systems, but this one actually does have full HD, so even the rear camera is full 1080p 30 frames per second. Now for full disclosure, I did receive this as a review unit from blackboxmycar.com. Of course, I am going to give my full honest opinion on it, and as usual I will provide links down below to where you can check it out if you're interested in purchasing this camera. So I reviewed the CH-100B quite a while ago now. It might have been 2 years ago, and this camera looks pretty much exactly the same, and other than the full 1080p 30 in the rear, it is almost the exact same camera to me. There might be some few other things besides the image sensor or processor that are different, but I think all of the features, from what I recall, are pretty much the same. Of course, it does have low voltage cutoff, high temperature cutoff. It does have the ADAS feature, which personally I'm not a big fan of, but basically it'll beep or whatever if you are coming up to a car too fast or swerving from your lane. So you open it up and the manual will be right on top. Now I don't believe this was a brand new unit. I believe this was a previously tested unit or something, as you'll see later. So the manual does cover everything from accessories to how long different memory cards will record footage for, how to use the iOS or Android app. So looking at the unit, like I mentioned at the beginning, it does look pretty much exactly like the CH-100B. Now, one thing I noticed is it's a lot easier to get this off. I actually punched myself in the face trying to get that mount off the CH-100B. It was so tight. I was pulling really hard until it released and my hand hit me in the face. So I like that one's a lot easier. Got volume buttons, a Wi-Fi button, and the emergency manual lock file button. Of course, some LEDs. On the side you can see the power input, an OBD input, the GPS, which I don't really like. You have to plug in like that, and then also on the far left the rear camera input. Here you can see the little Wi-Fi adapter. I find it a little strange that supposedly the camera is offered without the GPS, but I haven't seen it for sale without the GPS. And the Wi-Fi looks like it's an add-on also, but it comes plugged in. One strange thing is the rear camera uses micro USB on the main unit, but the actual rear camera uses a mini USB. Here's a memory card that was included with my package. Here's the rear camera. Not too big of a fan of these labels, especially because one is micro USB, one is mini, so you can't mess it up. So those big white labels are just going to be really visible. So mine didn't come with the standard power cable. Mine did come with a GPS and hardwiring kit, which claim they're optional. But again, I've never seen this camera for sale without it, so maybe that's only available in Korea. But this is everything that came with mine. The only thing missing, like I said, is the standard power cable, but that's okay because I do want to test the parking mode with this. One thing I wanted to point out is it does use a gray adhesive, so you can see there on the left. It is very visible. I don't like that. I think they should really include a black adhesive with the camera. And like many other high-end Korean dash cameras, it does actually have voice alerts, like when you're switching between normal or parking recording.
Drive safely. Recording started.
I really like that feature because you know if your memory card's bad or if it's even turning on or not, so you can always just listen for that audio alert. Now, video quality wise is probably where this camera is going to suffer the most for people looking for a two-channel camera, because currently there's a couple cameras coming from Blackview and Thinkware which are going to be also full 1080p front and rear, but those cameras have newer Sony image sensors, where those have the Sony Starvis sensor. This still uses the Sony Exmor sensor, which isn't going to be as good of night quality, and this camera also only has about 8 to 9 megabits per second for the video, which is relatively low these days, even for a 2-channel system. Thinkware and Blackview, I believe, are anywhere from 10, 11, or 12 megabits per second per channel. So I think that's sort of a downfall with this camera, but it is cheaper, so we'll talk about pricing a little later. But I think my biggest disappointment was that since this camera just came out this year, it's sort of disappointing to see that the video quality doesn't look any better than the Thinkware F770, which had 1080p front and rear last year. Of course, what you are getting with this camera, like a lot of other high-end Korean dash cameras, is a automatic parking mode. So here you can see it was raining, so the motion sensor was going off all the time. But with the Blacksys parking mode, when it senses motion or an impact, it'll save 10 seconds prior to that trigger that it always is buffering, plus an additional 20 seconds after. Now, some people might want to consider turning the motion detection off if you're in a high traffic area, or in situations like this where those water droplets and all the cars driving by are constantly setting the motion detection off. So the benefit of just using the impact detection is you'll only get a parking file if someone hits your car. But at the same time, some people with really nice cars might want the motion detection on because it could potentially catch someone keying your car, which I actually have seen clips from Blackview cameras of that happening. Now the night vision, or the night quality, is okay. I wouldn't say it's bad, but compared to some other cameras, it's not great either. The Sony image sensors are typically known for having better night quality, so the Sony Exmor, of course, is better than a lot of cheaper cameras with lesser known image sensors, but at the same time, compared to the Sony Starvis, I think a lot of people are going to see a difference. And like I said before, that's going to be the biggest downfall with this camera, is Blackview and Thinkware are putting the Sony Starvis image sensor in all of their cameras now. But that's not to say that those cameras are objectively better. Blacksys does offer some features that Blackview and Thinkware doesn't offer in all of their cameras. For one, this camera offers up to 256 gigabyte micro SD card support, and that's huge. The new Thinkware F800 only supports 64 gigabyte cards, which a lot of people are upset about. Some people think that there's going to be a future better F800 model from what we've heard that will support 128 gigabyte cards, but that's pretty disappointing that it only supports 64 gigabytes when even Blackview is offering 128 gigabyte card support, and Blacksys with this model is offering 256 gigabyte cards. Now here you can see with the rear camera, this is pretty typical with any 2-channel system. When it's dark, you're not going to be able to see anything behind you unless there's street lights. Now if a car pulls up right behind you, oftentimes with their lights shining on the back of your car, you will be able to make out their license plate. So this will definitely benefit you more in parking mode as opposed to when you're driving around on dark roads. So here you might not be able to make it out with the YouTube compression, but in the raw footage I could just barely make out that license plate, and he was parked about 6 to 10 feet behind me with the water droplets sort of interfering with the video. So like I said, the night footage, rear camera, you're not going to be able to see a lot behind you, but you'll typically be able to see a license plate when it really matters, and that's when someone happens to rear end you or back into you and their headlights or rear lights are lighting their own license plate light up. So now another feature that this camera has that most high-end Korean cameras have is a smartphone app. It supports either iOS or Android, of course. And I did have some issues with this at first. I ended up having to disable my cellular connection That seems to be a recurring issue lately with several different Wi-Fi cameras I've used, which sort of bothers me because I never had an issue with Blackview or ThinkWare and their smartphone apps on either iOS or Android. Another issue I did have is I didn't have my orientation locked, and it just constantly wanted to flip back and forth. So here you can see you can view a live feed, front or rear of course. And this app, I do want to show quite a bit of this app because there's some features that Blacksys offers that aren't really available on other Korean cameras, or at least most. Here you can see you can actually flip the rear video. Now, not too sure who this will benefit because as far as I know there isn't a video output for this, but I suppose if you streamed it onto a tablet or something you could actually sort of use it as a rear view camera, but there is a about 2-second delay, so I wouldn't really count on that feature being super useful. You can actually adjust the front and rear brightness independent of each other. Again, another feature that's not available in most 2-channel cameras. You can set the standby for how long it takes before it switches to parking mode, which is something I've never seen before. If it was in the CH-100B, I just don't remember. Of course, you can set the voltage and timer settings because unlike the Blackview cameras, it's not like you need a PowerMagic Pro, you just use the hardwiring connection. There is also an option to turn the rear LED light off independently of the front LED, which is really cool because some Blackview cameras don't have that option at all. You'd have to stick a piece of tape over the LED light on the rear camera. You can partition your memory card for normal recording, parking, or event recording, which is pretty cool. That is offered with a lot of other cameras now these days, but this is probably the one feature I really like the most that I haven't seen Blackview or ThinkWare offer. You can set the area that the motion detection is triggered by. That way you won't have trees blowing in the wind setting it off, or something else like that. Here are the ADAS settings. Personally, I turn these off. I don't find them that useful. Of course, there's some audio settings. So while this camera might not have as good a video quality as some of the newer Blackview or ThinkWare models, it does have a lot of features that some of those other companies from Korea don't offer, so I think it's still worth checking out if you're okay with the lower bitrate video and the lower overall video quality. If you're interested in some of these extra features, such as being able to set your own motion detection zones. Of course, you can save your files to your phone, but for some strange reason I was not able to watch any of the files, and I struggled quite a bit. So this is definitely one of my annoyances with the camera, is you'll see that it kept constantly wanting to rotate over and over and over, and you'll probably just want to lock it when you're using this app because it wants to constantly switch even when I wasn't turning it. Like I said, I was also not able to view any of the files, and I don't know if that's just an issue with my phone. I do use a OnePlus 3T, and it seems like this phone has been having issues with a lot of different cameras, but I was able to just download the file and then view it later. Of course, you can just take the memory card out and put it in your phone and save the file. Now, one thing I did want to point out that was improved from the CH-100 is you did have to use the viewing software on the PC to actually extract some of the video. You couldn't just open the video file. It was some sort of special video file with the front and rear was one file, and they actually changed that with this model. So now the front and rear video is just separate video files, and it'll open right up in Windows Media Player or whatever media player you use. So I did want to do a quick comparison of the ThinkWare F770 with this new Blacksys CH-200. Now, I'm going to say that in the day footage, it's very, very similar. It's hard to really say if you're getting any benefit with either or. I think the F770 looks a little bit brighter and clearer, but I don't think that amounts to being able to read license plates any better. If I had to choose which one looked better, I'm inclined to say the F770 actually looks better, and maybe it's because it has a higher bitrate, but it's only about 1 megabit per second higher on the front and rear for the F770. For the night quality, they do look quite a bit different. The CH-200 looks like it's got a much bluer appearance to it. And these are just the default settings, but it does look like the F770 is a little brighter. You can see the curb and the grass a little bit better on the F770 on the top. But like I said, with the day footage, I don't think it really gives you much of an advantage. I don't think there's any times where I'm going to suddenly be able to read a license plate on the F770 where I couldn't on the CH-200. Now, I haven't gotten to test the F800 or the new Blackview 750S, so I don't know how those are going to compare. But my overall conclusion is that the CH-200 is a decent camera. The video quality is a little lacking with the low bit rate, but it does offer a lot of these other features like the motion detection zone support, voltage and timer controls in the app and built into the camera, which ThinkWare also does, but Blackview doesn't with all of its cameras, only the LCD models. It does have the front and rear LED controls, the SD card partitioning, which is hit or miss with Blackview, and overall it's a decent camera, and it starts at only $350 with the GPS. So it's a camera you might want to consider because it's cheaper than the top of the line ThinkWare and Blackview cameras, and it does have that whopping 256 gigabyte card support, so that's definitely something that is a big plus for this camera. So if you're looking for all of these unique features that Blacksys offers that ThinkWare or Blackview or Lucas and FineView might not offer, then definitely check this out. You just got to be okay with the video quality. So I'd like to thank BlackBoxMyCar.com for sending this review unit out again. If you're interested in purchasing this camera, I'll provide links down below to where you can do that. If you like this video or my other videos, I'd appreciate if you hit like and subscribe. And of course, drive safe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.